In this lab, you will learn about backup and recovery of Azure virtual machines. You will also learn how to create a recovery service vault and a backup policy for Azure virtual machines. You will learn about disaster recovery with Azure Site Recovery. There are 5 tasks that I will perform. In task 1, I'm going to use a template to provision an infrastructure. In task 2, I'm going to create and configure a recovery service vault. In task 3, I'm going to configure Azure virtual machine level backup. In the task 4, I'm going to monitor Azure backup. And in task 5, I'm going to enable virtual machine replication. Here's the scenario. Let's say that your organization is evaluating how to backup and restore Azure virtual machines from accidental or malicious data loss. Additionally, let's say your organization wants to explore using Azure Site Recovery for disaster recovery scenarios. So in order to fulfill all requirements of this scenario, like I said earlier, there are 5 tasks that I will perform. In task 1, I'm going to use a template to provision an infrastructure. In this task, I'm going to use a template to deploy a virtual machine. The virtual machine will be used to test different backup scenarios. So to begin, I'm going to search for deploy a custom template. Then on the custom template where I am right now, I'm going to select this, build your own template in the editor. This will take me to edit templates where I can decide to begin to write a template that I can use to deploy a resource or any set of resources, or I can load an existing template into this same location. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to load a file. So I'll go to where I have the files. Now, once again, you have to go to the AZ-104 on the GitHub and download this this file. It's called AZ-104 Microsoft Azure Administrator Master. That is the lab files for AZ-104. So I've downloaded it, and I've also extracted the contents into a folder. So I'll double click the folder. Now I will have to go to the all files, then labs. Now this is lab 10. So there are 2 files here, parameter and template. So I'll click on the template and I'll say open. This will load the file into this edit template area. Now you can take a moment to review this template. For example, like I said earlier, the purpose of this template is to deploy a sample resource. That sample resource is virtual machine. So that's what this template will do. So it's going to deploy a virtual network and a virtual machine so that we can demonstrate our backup and recovery. So if you look at this place, it talk about what? VM name prefix. Here is what? The admin password. Here is the admin username. So there are a lot of information about the the virtual machine. This is where he referenced what? The image, which is a what? Windows Server. And here talk about the edition of the Windows Server, that is 2019 data center. So we also talk about the size of the virtual machine here, standard D2S underscore V3. This is the area where we describe the virtual network name, and here is where we'll assign an IP address to the virtual network. Here is where we'll implement NSG into the virtual network, and so on and so forth. This is where subnet is handled. This is where the script, will create the subnet. So on your own, you can take a lot of your time to actually look at the script. So I'll click save now. Now I won't click the save. I'll go to this place, edit parameters. Then I'm going to load the parameter file. So I'll click load file and I will double click on the parameter. So this is the parameter file. Now, what I will do again is to save. So I need to now complete other remaining stuff that is not part of what the template actually generated, like the resource group. So I'm going to click new and I will name the resource group AZ-104 RG region 1. Then I will click OK. Then region, that is where the resources that this templates will be deployed to. In this case, we'll leave it as East US. Then for the username, that is the username of the virtual machine. Now I'm going to provide a password. That is going to be the admin password of that virtual machine. Next, I'm going to click review plus create. Now it's going to validate the information that I've supplied, and it's going to determine if those informations are in order. After that, it's going to tell me if I can proceed or not. Now it's telling me that I can proceed. That is why, it gave me this button create. So I will click the button create. Now it's initializing the deployment. After this initialization of the deployment, it will now start to deploy the resources into the Azure. So this will take a few minutes. So I'm going to pause this video now, and I'll be back once the templates has finished deploying the resources. Now the deployment is complete. So I'll click this button, go to resource group. This will take me to that resource group called AZ-104-RG-region 1. Now I can see the list of resources created. For example, this is a network interface of the VM0. So this network interface is connected to this VM. The NSG, that's network security group, is also connected to the VM and the VNet. Also, we have the public IP address that is connected to the two resources. Here is the name of the virtual machine, and here is the virtual machine, and here is the virtual network. This one is the Azure disk that is inside this VM0. Now we'll proceed to task 2. In task 2, I'm going to create and configure a recovery service vault. In this task, I'm going to create a recovery service vault. A recovery service vault provides storage for virtual machine data. So I will go back to the search and I will type recovery service vault. Here's it. Then I will click on it. So this will take me to the recovery service vault. Look at the information that is here. It says that a disaster recovery and data protection strategies keeps your business running when unexpected events occur. Get started by creating a recovery service vault. Now I will click create. Now on the recovery service vault, where I will need to supply necessary information so that I can create the recovery service vault. The first information that I need to supply is the subscriptions, then the resource group. So the subscription is already there. For the resource group, I'm going to select this drop down and I will select AZ-104-RG-Region 1. For the vault name, that is the recovery service vault name, I will use AZ-104-RG, RSV-Region 1. That is going to be the name of this recovery service vault instance. And for the region, I'm going to use East US. Please, if you want to do your own or if you are following me, this region has to be the same location where you deploy that virtual machine to. The two of them need to be in the same region. Then I will click review plus create so that the information that I supplied can be verified if they are in order, after which I will now click create. So I'm going to wait for the deployment to complete. The deployment should take a couple of minutes. Therefore, I will pause this video and I'll be back once the deployment is complete. Now the deployment is complete, so I'll click this button, go to resource. This will take me to the overview of the AZ-104-RSV-Region 1. That is the recovery service vault instance that I created. Now I'll go to settings, then I'll go to the properties. This will allow me to see the properties, or let me say other information that are related to this recovery service vault. For example, there are different sections here, like backup and site recovery. We also have security settings. Now, under the security settings, we have security level, immutable vaults, multi-user authorization, soft delete and security settings, encryption settings, security pin. These are the things that I can configure for this recovery service vault. And if you come to backup and site recovery, you will see something like backup configuration, smart sharing, cross subscription restore, monitoring settings, and so on. Now, I'm going to click on the update link that is under this backup configuration. Now, this will take me to the settings that is already configured for the backup. Now, let's take a look at some of the things that is already configured by default for this backup. For example, look at the storage replication type. We have locally redundant, zonally redundant, and geo-redundant. Look at the note here. It says this option cannot be changed after protecting item. Geo-redundant storage, that's the GRS, provides a higher level of data durability than locally redundant storage and costs more. Review the trade-offs between lower cost and higher data durability that is best for your scenario. Now, it simply explains that yes, so when it comes to money, you pay more, you select this option, but it is the best out of all these replication type. Now, I'm going to leave it this way. So, since I have not changed anything, I will just close this. Now, I'll move to security settings. Under the security settings, we talk about the soft delete and security settings the other time, right? Now, I'm going to click on the update link there. It's also going to show me the default settings for the soft delete and security settings. Now look at this checkbox. It says that enable soft delete for cloud workload. You can see it's checked. So it simply means that if you delete anything that is backed up into this recovery service vault, it's going to be a soft delete. And what is the retention period? 14 days. That is what is set by default. So you can change this number. So this is the number of days for which what deleted data is retained before being permanently deleted. So retention period till 14 days is free of cost. However, retention beyond 14 days may incur additional charges. So I will cross-check this area. I'll click close again. Now, there's something you need to know about recovery service vaults. Recovery service vaults are of two types. We have recovery service vaults and we also have backup vaults. The main difference is the data sources that can be backed up. Now I'll move to task 3. In task 3, I'm going to configure Azure Virtual Machine Level Backup. In this task, I'm going to implement Azure Virtual Machine Level Backup. As part of a VM backup, I will need to define the backup and the retention policy that applies to the backup. Different VMs can have different backup and retention policies assigned to them. Now, before you start this task, please make sure that the deployment you initiated in the first task of the lab are successfully completed. So on the recovery service vault, I will click the overview once again. Now look at this backup. I will click this. So this will take me to the backup Go Blade. In this backup Go Blade, look at this, it's telling me again that the storage replication is set to what? Geo-redundant. Also telling me that this option cannot be changed later. So before you proceed, it's better you go back now and change it. Now on where is your workload running? If you click the drop down, we have what? Azure Stack Up, Azure Stack ACI, and the on-prem. So if you have your workload in the on-prem, let's say you want to back up an on-prem virtual machine, it is the on-prem you will select. But because what we want to back up is where? Is in the Azure. So I'll leave it like this. And what resources do I want to back up in the Azure? Virtual machine. Let's see other options that are there. I can back up Azure files, I can back up SQL database that are in Azure VMs, and I can also back up SAP ASA, that is a SAP Sybase in Azure VM. So what I will do now is I will click backup. This page where I am right now, do take note that there are two policy subtype. We have enhanced and we have standard. For the enhanced, you can do multiple backups per day. Also, up to 30 days operational tail retention. It also supports for trusted launch Azure VM, and it supports for VMs with Ultra Disk and Premium SSD. For the standard, the backup is what? Once a day backup and up to 5 days operational tail retention. Now, whatever policy subtype you also select here will also determine the amount you will pay. I'm going to choose standard. Now, I'll move to this backup policy. What is the purpose of this backup policy? The backup policy specifies frequency and time at which items will back up and how long backup copies are retained. So I'm going to configure this backup policy. To do that, I'm going to click this link that says create a new policy. So I now have this area that just opened now. This is where I will configure the backup policy. Now for the policy name, I'm going to name it AZ-104-backup. And for the frequency, it's going to be daily. And the time, I'm going to use 12 a.m. for instance. And for the time zone, I'm going to use UTC +1 West Central Africa because that is my time zone. Yes. Then look at this place that says instant restore. It says retain instant recovery snapshot for how many days? 2 days. Now I will click OK. This will now create the policy. And then in the virtual machine section, you can see the policy now. This is a backup frequency. It's now time for me to select the virtual machine in question. So I'll click add, and the form here now will allow me to be able to pick the virtual machine that I want to backup. So I will select the checkbox in front of this VM. That's the only VM I have there anyway. But if you have more than one VM, you have to check the one that you want to backup. Then I will click OK. Now it's back to this area. Now I now have a VM under the virtual machine and also other information about that VM. Now click this button, enable backup. So it's initializing the deployment. So I'm going to wait for the backup to be enabled. This should take about approximately 2 minutes. So I'll pause this video and I'll be back once the backup is enabled. Now that the deployment is complete, I'm going to click go to resource. So this will take me back to the AZ-104-RSV-region 1. Now, I'll go to the protected items section. In the protected items section, I'm going to click backup items. And then in the list of the backup items, I'm supposed to see the items that are backup and the count. For example, look at the Azure virtual machine. How many counts? One. It simply shows that that backup that I enable is already there. To confirm, I'll click the link. And look at the information that is here. Look at it. AZ-105 in 10 VM0. That's the virtual machine. So in this column that says last backup status, look at it. Warning: initial backup is what? Pending. This is because we have not done any backup, and that's why it's saying there is no backup. Now, if I come to this place, I'll click this area. This is to open context menu. What do I have? Backup now. So I'll now click this to initiate the process of backing up the virtual machine into the recovery service vault. What is the retain backup till? I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to accept the default value and I will click OK. Now it's triggering the what? The backup. So that is how you can back up into what? Recovery service vault. Now I'm going to move to task 4. In task 4, that is where I will monitor the Azure backup. So in this task, I'm going to deploy an Azure storage account. Then I will configure the vault to send the logs and metrics to the storage account. This repository can then be used with log analytics or other third-party monitoring solutions. So I'm going to click here again. Now look for storage accounts. Then in the storage account, I'll click create. Then I will select the subscription for the storage account. So I'll leave it like this. The resource group is going to be this resource group. For the storage accounts, I can say 1759 storage accounts. Then for the region, I will leave it like this, East US, because that's where I've deployed every other resources into. Then I will select review plus create. So it's trying to validate the information that I've supplied. And once it's through with the validation and determine that the information that I supplied are in order, it's going to allow me to click the create button. And that's what we are seeing right now. So I'll click the create button. It's initializing the deployment now. I'm going to pause this video now because this deployment might take like a minute or two. So I'll be back once it's ready. Now the deployment is complete. So I will go back to the recovery service vault. And I'm going to select the recovery service vault that I created earlier. Then I'll come to the monitoring section. In the monitoring blade, I'm going to select diagnostic settings. Now, I will now click on add diagnostic settings. Now, for the diagnostic settings name, I'll call it logs and metrics to storage. So what is happening in these diagnostic settings? A diagnostic setting specify a list of categories of platform logs and or metrics that you want to collect from a resource and one or more destinations that you would stream them to. So what are the things, the category of logs that I would like to collect? I'm going to check things relating to um, virtual machine and some other information. For example, I'm going to check this Azure backup reporting data. I'm also going to check add-on Azure backup job data. I'm going to check add-on Azure backup alert data, and I'm going to check Azure Site Recovery jobs, and I'm going to check Azure Site Recovery events. Also, I'm going to check health under the metrics. And in the destination details, this is where I will determine where will it log this file into. So I'm going to place a check mark next to archive to a storage account. And now I need to select the storage account. So where is the storage account? Is in this location. And you can see this is the name of the storage account. If I have more storage accounts in this subscription and the one that is displayed by default is not the one I want, I'll click the drop down to select it. Now that I've done that, I'll click save. So I've saved the diagnostic settings. Now I'm going to return to the recovery service vault. So still in the monitoring section, I'm going to click on backup jobs. This is where I will now see information about what he has backup. Do you take note that under the workload, look at this, AZ-104 10VM0, that is the virtual machine. The operation is what? Configured backup. What is the status? Completed. Now, it's just to configure the backup that is completed. When it comes to the backup itself, is what? Is in progress. You can see now that the backup is actually working and we have actually initiated the process of backing up our virtual machine. Now I'll move to task 5. In task 5, I'm going to enable virtual machine replication. Go back to this recovery service vault. What I want to do now is to create a new recovery service vault. And for the resource group, it's going to be a new resource group. I'll call it AZ-104-RSV-region 2. Sorry, this one will be RG. And for the vault name, it's going to be AZ-104-RSV-region 2. Then I will leave it where? West US, because it is actually in another region, or my intention is to put it in another region. So I will leave it as West US. Then I will click review plus create. So let me click the create so that I can create the second recovery service vault. Basically, what it simply means is that I'm going to have two recovery service vaults. So the deployment is complete. I'll click go to resource. What this simply means is that I will now have two recovery service vaults. Let's go to recovery service vaults. I'm now going to have one in region 1, you can see, and region 2. What is the region for the first one? The region 1 is East US and the region 2 is what? West US. Now, let me go back and look for virtual machine. Now, I will select virtual machine. Then the list of the virtual machine, I will select the VM0. I'll go to backup plus disaster recovery and I will click disaster recovery. So from the disaster recovery, look at the information here. Say, welcome to Azure Site Recovery. You can replicate your virtual machines to another Azure region for business continuity and disaster recovery needs. So look at this target region. What is it saying? We're going to select supported target region. And where is it saying is going to be the target region? It's going to be South Central US. So remember the region where this virtual machine is deployed to East US. Now, when it comes to replication, it says it's going to deploy it to where? South Central US. It simply means that it's going to be in two different regions. And if you look at the map, this is which one? This is the um, East US and this is the South Central US. So this is the default location where the virtual machine is right now. This is where it's taking it to. So I'll click next advanced settings. This will take me to the advanced settings tab. Now in the advanced settings tab, resource selection has been made for me anyway. I just need to review them. For example, here's the subscription. This is the VM resource group. This is virtual network. And the availability, every other information relating to this has been set for me. So if you are doing it, verify your subscription, verify your VM resource group, your virtual machine, the availability. You have to verify all of them. Now we'll scroll down a bit. I'll go to the storage settings. I'll click show details. Now from here, I can see information like shown for VM cache for storage accounts. Now, it is important that both of these settings be populated or the validation will actually fail. So if values are not present, please try and refresh this page. If that doesn't work, create an empty storage account and then return to this page. Also in the replication settings, click show details. And notice the recovery service vault is now where? In region 2. This is automatically what? Selected. Now at this point, what I need to do now is to now go ahead and click review plus start replication. Look at this error. It says you have selected to create new automation account. Click on create to proceed for enable replication. So I'll click create here. So it's doing that right now. Now it's saying deployment what succeeded, right? So I can now click review plus start create now. And after this, what will I do? I will now say start replication. So is enabling the replication now. So enabling replication will take 10 to 15 minutes. And this will take, like I said, approximately 15 minutes. So I'm going to pause this video and I'll be back once the replication is complete. Now, as you can see, the deployment is succeeded. So what I will do now is that I'm going to search recovery service vault again. And remember, what I did was that I, you know, copy the virtual machine into the second recovery service vault. This recovery service vault I'm referring to, region 2. So I'll go to the region 2 recovery service vault. Under that, I'll go to protected items. In the protected items, I'm going to click on replicated items. From here, I should be able to see my virtual machine that I replicated. This same virtual machine, VM0. So what I did was that I replicate that virtual machine into another recovery service vault. And what is the replication health saying? LD. And the status is what? 0% synchronized. Now, if I click on the virtual machine, I have the opportunity to see more about this virtual machine. And I look at the virtual machine and look at the information about the recovery. So, so in this lab, I've shown you two ways that you can back up resources like virtual machine. The first one was that I created a recovery service vault known as recovery service vault region 1. So that is why I back up that virtual machine to directly. Now, the second way to implement a backup is to use virtual machine replication. So I went directly to the virtual machine VM0 and I went to where I was able to replicate that virtual machine into a recovery service vault. In this case, I used another recovery service vault. And as you can see, the virtual machine was properly replicated into the region 2 recovery service vault. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing to this channel. Please, let me know what you think in the comment section. And do not forget to leave a like and share this video. See you in the next one.